We'll ask each group to give a short presentation, maybe 8 to 10 minutes, okay, to show us how you design this whole package, okay. What is the rationale behind your design? What is the learning objectives? What is the who are the target learners? Okay, and then you can. I think you got some feedback from your peers already, right? You can also respond to those comments as well during your presentation. You say, "I heard some comments. How we are going to address those comments?" Okay, and then after, I think maybe I want all of you to finish your presentation first, then we can have a group discussion together. Then maybe I can give you comments one by one, so we all get some feedback. Then my feedback can help you, and your classmates' feedback can help you to improve your package. Because then in the end you want to compete for the prize, so you need to polish it, okay, make improvements, so you will submit the best possible product at the end for the competition. Okay, so we don't have a fixed time to finish. When we finish, we finish. Okay, so it doesn't have to be a 2-hour session, okay, because we don't have lots of groups. So we will just carry on until everything is done. Then we finish today's session, okay? Yes. So shall we start with group 1? So please, yeah. You introduce yourself, okay?
Okay. Hello everyone, I'm group 1 and my name is Dong Wenxia. And my partner's name is Wang Sha. Yeah, and I'm going to introduce our lesson plan. Okay, first of all, I would like to show you our teaching guides. We chose the topic big and da in Chinese, and our target students is secondary level students. And our learning objectives is, after this lesson, students are able to identify the translation rules of big in both English and Chinese and use different words in English related to the word da in Chinese to express concrete meaning. Here I want to explain more, because maybe some people will think in the secondary level, students are able to use big and have awareness to use big in their writing and speaking. But actually, in our mainland China, the level of the secondary students are not able to use the big in the English writing very correctly. So we decide to use this lesson to make a more concrete and precise meaning of the translation between the big and the da in Chinese. So we chose the corpus EC Concord. And let's start the most important one in our lesson plan is the teaching procedure. In our procedure, it consists of 4 stages. The stage 1 is test students' knowledge. The second one is hands-on searching, and the third one is inductive discovery, and the last one is the output exercise. So first of all, let's move on the first stage, test students' knowledge. In this stage, we prepare an activity named brainstormings. Here, we would like our students to finish worksheets first, individually. And after this work, they will have a pair work, like they will discuss with their peers, maybe their neighbor or their group, like that. They will discuss their opinions about this graph. Like, I have an idea about da related to 更大的, and this is a bigger one. So they can exchange their ideas and have more ideas about what can be related to da, this word. The purpose of this part is because we want to activate students at the very beginning of the class, and the second purpose is that during the process of their work, teacher can walk around and to detect whether students have a basic understanding of what how da can be translated in the English, and also this part can prepare for students following learning. And the next part is the hands-on searching. After the brainstorming, teacher will prepare some concordances for the students, and there are 2 tasks here. The first one is the English to Chinese parts. Here, students should observe both English to Chinese and Chinese to English concordances individually, and after observation, they should answer some very simple question like how was bake translated into Chinese, and also how was da translated into English. The purpose of this 2 tasks is because we want our student to have a basic understanding of how da and big can translate it into Chinese and English, can arouse their previous knowledge maybe and understanding of the translation rules. And after these stages, let's move on to stage 3, inductive discovery. In this part, the first task is a group work, because in the previous stage, we prepare individual work for them to observe the basic rules of the translation. So in this part, we want our students to have a group discussion. They can discuss with each other about their opinions, their ideas of the translation rules, because in this part, they can reconstruct their idea after exchanging their ideas with each other. So after their discussion, they can write down their final or perfect answer on the table. And this part can clarify their understanding and deepen their understanding of the translation rules. And after that is the task 4. Here, there is a matching exercise. In this part, students should match A, B, C, D to the prepared concordances here. And all the concordances prepared here appeared in the previous stage. The purpose why we chose to design this task is because we want our students to further clarify how big can translate it to how da translated to the English. So we chose to this task for our student to do. Yes, and after this task, teacher will summarize the rules with the students, because after students' observation by themselves, second, and the discussion with their peers, and then it's the practice in this part, I think students will have a further understanding of how big can translate it in Chinese and how da translated in English. So in this part, I think it is like a step-by-step process. Yes, and then the last stage is for it's output exercises. We prepare 2 practices. One is oral practice, and the second one is the written practice. In the oral practice, it's about the storytelling. Here, it is a very creative part, because in this part, we choose some very beautiful pictures for our students to make up a story, and there is no limitations in this part. But we encourage our student to use the words related to big in Chinese to make up story as many as they can, and they should use the pictures as many as they can, but there is no other limitations for them. And the next part is the written practice. In this part, we decide to let the student to continue their story, and this part it is an individual work, because in the previous oral practice, they have already discussed with their peers, their group members about the stories. So in this part, we want our students to have an individual work to continue their story. But in this part, we also want our students to use the big word related to the words related to big in Chinese as many as they can. But we have no limitation for them to choose the words related to big. They can think out of the box, but they can also use the big words in their writing. So in this output exercise, why we chose these two activities is because we want our students to internalize their knowledge, to use their new knowledge and their old knowledge to combine, to connect them together, because I think this is a very good way for them to construct the knowledge and to remember the new knowledge. And this one is very creative, and I think students will like it. And the final part is the optional practice. Here, if we have time or after class work, we would like our students to try to search other words by themselves, because why you need to learn something, it's because you need to when you learn something, you need to try out them, right? So we chose an optional practice for them, and we have two options. One is search small and 小, and option 2 is if they are able, if some students are more able, they can choose another word they like, because we want our students to use the knowledge they learned in the class after class, and to do it by themselves, to try it by themselves, because I think this is a good way for them to internalize the knowledge. And this part teacher will require students to summarize translation rules like the previous stage we show for them, and summarize the rules in the table like what we designed in the class activity, just like this one. So this is the end of my presentation. I'm a little bit nervous. Sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, close it. Leave it there.
Okay.
Okay, since they just presented, I think maybe it's easier for us to comment now, because the whole package is on the screen. We can discuss about it. So, any questions from the audience about the package or suggestions?
I want to answer a question. Like, I received a comment like because some people think, oh, maybe it's too easy for secondary level students to learn how big translated into Chinese, or how 大的 translated into big. But the purpose we designed to choose big and 大的 is because like what we've experienced in mainland China, some people always misunderstood, oh, I can use big in any other writing or any other article. So we want to clarify these points for them. So this is the purpose of why we chose to focus on these parts.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other feedback? Comments?
I think she was answering my comments.
Yes.
Oh, it's you.
Like,
Yeah.
because that they can translate it into other meanings like 重要的
Yeah.
information and 狂热的. I just suggest you can include some other versions of that Chinese translation like this. But if you want to just focus that and big, I think it makes sense.
Thank you.
It depends on your teaching focus.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Other comments? Okay, maybe I will give you some comments. I want to show the slides while talking about it. Okay. Okay, so I think thanks for the great effort. I think you put in a lot of effort trying to design this whole package. Some of you mentioned big and da. They seems to be very simple words, but in fact, believe me, all the simplest words are the most complicated ones. Okay, big or da can mean a lot of things. Can express all kinds of ideas in different language, different culture, and so it is fine for the secondary level. But I think, as some classmates mentioned, perhaps you can make the whole thing more challenging, because these are secondary students. They are quite advanced already, language-wise. So instead of just saying find the translation rules of big, and perhaps talk about maybe the ideology. Okay, how da and big, how the word is associated with different conceptualization in the different culture. Okay, and I think especially in Chinese, da is frequently used in like idioms, like 大功告成, okay, 皆大欢喜. There are lots of very interesting way of using da, okay, in our culture. Okay, perhaps you can explore this character a bit further in Chinese, and the examples you used here, I think you can strengthen it a bit more. Let's try to find more examples, more interesting expressions, and also the translation, like your classmate mentioned. Here you just said big can be translated into where is it? Da, right? So actually that's very limited. Okay, I think here you can have a lot more possibilities, and try to explore that more. Yeah, and also the example I showed you was just an example, but for you to develop this package, you really need to have a very extensive analysis of the data, not just showing a few lines and say, okay, you do it. Okay, I want you to show me what you actually found out in the data. So perhaps you can make supplementary materials for the package. Maybe it looks like this to your students, but behind the scene, you already did a lot of research, so you will have a lot more, like here, maybe a lot more you have found. You can have a very systematic analysis, maybe of all the examples you analyzed, and try to create as many possible categories as possible. It's almost like a piece of research you have done. So according to my research, I have found all these different categories of how big is translated into da and how da is translated into big in different manners. It may mean you have to look at a lot of concordance lines, but that will really back up the whole research. So you want to show me you have a very thorough exploration of the corpus yourself. Okay, and then when you teach students, you are fully equipped yourself. I understand all the whole phenomenon of how this word is used, right? And storytelling, I think, is a very good output exercise. I think there might be a bit more guidelines on this, because you can say you can just randomly talk about anything, but I think that can also have some negative side, like student a bit lost. What are we going to talk about? Okay, so you may consider, if, for example, in the English curriculum, there is some kind of theme covered in your curriculum, you can say, okay, let's try to tell some stories on a particular theme, maybe about I don't know, relationship, okay, friendship, value, whatever. So, but use this word, okay, to express yourself. Or in a particular, so think about that possibility. Link this more to the curriculum in a more direct way. And then, I think be creative and use images. Certainly, that will help. And then for the next part, writing practice. Okay, it's not written, writing practice. Okay, again, write a story. Perhaps, you can ask them to structure the story around a certain theme. They can write different stories, maybe, but about a particular theme. So they have a bit of a more focus, and they can actually supplement each other's in a particular way. Okay, think about the structuring, and okay, somebody's writing. Okay, and then optional practice, yes. Then encourage students to further explore like small and shell. And also you can, as I said, the 4-character idioms in Chinese can be a particularly interesting area. Maybe you can say, perhaps do a focused study on Chinese idioms with Da in it, and see the cultural richness of this character in Chinese, and the uniqueness. Okay, can you identify certain unique usage of Da in the Chinese culture, and how it differs from the Western culture, etc. Yes, things like that you can incorporate in your package. So I think my comments apply to all the groups. So I want you to do a really thorough analysis. You can say, you can provide answers to your questions. Okay, provide the most comprehensive answers to your questions, like based on your research. So as part of the package. But when you teach, you already know a lot about this, so you can help students to discover, to explore. You don't tell them the discovery, but you already did it yourself. So when they found this, you can say, oh yeah, great, that's a great point. If they didn't find out, you can supplement to say, okay, what about this and that, right? So that is something you can do. Okay? Okay, so thank you for your presentation, and well done. Shall we welcome the second group to present?